You are listening to Balloon Killers. I'm your host, Chrissy Riley, and each episode I'll be talking to someone from the world of cowboy mounted shooting, which is one of the most exciting and fastest growing equestrian sports. Hold on to your hats because it's going to get Western. Hello everybody. From all of your social media posts last weekend and this weekend, I can see that the 2026 mounted shooting season has officially started. So I hope that it all started well for you and wishing you all the best of luck for this next season. When this podcast goes live, I will be in Vienna, Austria with my mum and my brother for my mum's 65th retirement birthday. And she is now a regular listener to Balloon Killers. So happy 65th birthday, Mum. I hope that you're having the best time with me and Steve in Vienna. I kicked off my 2026 season yesterday at the Colorado Mounted Thunder's Halloween shoot in Castle Rock, Colorado. It was a costume shoot, so those of you who know me know how much I love a good old dress up. So I dressed up as Taylor Swift and Bear was Travis Kelce, and we made quite the fetching team, if I do say so myself. I left the shoot entirely overwhelmed with gratitude. Gratitude for my horse, who continued to step up his game yesterday, found a new gear and speed, and we had some of the best runs that we have ever had together yesterday, and I felt like we were so together. I'm so proud of him and so proud of our progress. And then, of course, my shooting friends who make this sport so friendly and so fun, from my travel buddies who take me down to shoots, to my shooting besties who are game to record the silly, funny, viral Facebook, TikTok videos where we recreate a viral TikTok dance, to the people who record and cheer me on. I just love you all so much. My guest for this episode is a mental performance coach who works with a lot of shooters. Laurie Blickenstaff is no stranger to Western sports herself. She's an accomplished team roper who's won a lot of money at the Ariat World Series finals in Las Vegas. And she is also a new shooter herself. Well, hi, Laurie. It's good to catch up with you on this Friday.
Hi, Chrissy. Thanks for having me. I'm honored.
Let's get straight into the questions. Tell us about your background in Western sports and competing.
Well, I grew up a horse crazy girl, and fortunately, my dad was a rodeo cowboy. So he rodeoed professionally, steer wrestling and calf roping. And so he let me tag along to his rodeos. And so that, got the urge in me. And then unfortunately, we had to move. We moved into the suburbs when I was just about turning 6. And so I was quite removed from, I'd had a pony, back in the farm, and now I didn't have any. But my dad did a good job of putting me with people who could help me and teach me. My dreams were all about barrel racing at that age. But then I did work my way up so I high school rodeoed. And then once I got to high school, I did branch out into the other events at high school rodeo. So more than just barrel racing. And then I college rodeoed as well for a few years. And then through my adult years, I did a little bit just casual. I had some barrel racing stints in there. I team roped, mostly just for fun. I didn't do tons of competing. Mm-hmm. And then I guess it was 2017 was when I decided I really wanted to get serious about this team roping. And that's when I kind of went all in, both with the mental game and the technical game, Mm-hmm. So that's now been my life for the past several years.
And what successes have you had with that?
Well, it started out just with local jackpots here. So I kind of worked my way out. So winning some, the Western Slope of Colorado has a great series. And so I would go to those and started, racking up some successes. And then I'd always heard my roping buddies talk about like going to Arizona and Vegas. And so eventually I did get to go down to Arizona, or usually they have a national team roping, the NTR finals are every year in March. And so that was my favorite. So I went almost every year for the last like 5-6 years, and started to have some successes there and some wins. And then Vegas, I know mostly you have a shooter audience who are very familiar with the South Point, but the World Series of Team Roping finale is also at the South Point, and that's in December. And so I had my sights on that. And I went for, my third year there was 2023. And my partner and I won the number 7 division.
Well done.
Yes. So that was the most exciting day of my life and the biggest win by far.
What's funny is I probably saw you win that, because I go to the NFR every year and I spend a lot of my time during the day at the World Series at the South Point. In 2023, you said 2023, right?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely saw all of the finals for that
Okay.
year. So I
Isn't that
probably saw
crazy?
you. That is.
Yeah. Well, it's quite a production, isn't it?
Yes, it is. There's a
Yeah.
lot of team ropers in that event.
Yeah. The whole week is just kind of, overwhelming. But
I think there's 3
awesome.
times the number of team ropers in that event that week, because there's over 1,000, right?
Oh, because each day is a different division.
Yeah.
So they have up to, I think, 2,000 in some divisions. So there's a lot. Yeah.
And when I think about the fact that we had, I think it was 300 and something for our mounted shooting Western regionals, Western finals, whatever it was, I can only imagine the chaos that that arena and that venue must be with that many team ropers.
Yeah, it is. It's quite the experience. Every team roper's got to do it at least once.
To what or to whom do you attribute your success in team roping? And this might overlap with my second question for you, which is all about what you do and how you got into it. There might be some overlap there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I have to attribute all of it to God. I'm a Christian. And so, I can now look back at my life and see how many things, like what were major disappointments to me, led me, to this point where I'm now doing something I love so much. But it was the mental game. I had started. So I told you back in 2017, I think is when I got serious about it. And I was driving to a roping, and I live up in the mountains. So everything is far away. Like if there's a jackpot within an hour, I'm like, yeehaw. So this one was a couple hours away, and I was driving to it, and up ahead I could see, like, the sky was getting dark, the clouds were moving in, and in the back of my mind, I felt like some relief. And I was like, oh, maybe they'll cancel the roping and I won't have to put myself out there and, maybe be let down. And that was my wake up call. I just said, Laurie, you're not going to spend all this time and all this money doing this if you can't figure out how to enjoy it, right? And be ready for those big moments. So that's when I dove in, and I just started like absorbing everything I could, podcasts and books and online courses. And I started to see results, and it just, built upon itself. And yeah, it's when I was, so you can imagine we were talking about the hoopla of Vegas, right? So my partner and I, we were coming into the short round in high call position. So that means we had to watch 23 teams ahead of us who, could beat us. And so you're sitting back there in the tunnel, of the South Point. And the old me would have, I would have been a basket case, but no, I was excited. That's something we train ourselves with the mental game, is to learn rather than we're nervous, we're excited. That's what all these emotions are pumping within us. And so I just clung to that excitement. And I felt ready and I knew what I was focusing. I knew what I had to do. And like, yeah, so I was able to ride into the box, and the announcer's just like going off, all they have to do is be 16 seconds to win $174,000. And I watched the video and you can see I am like locked in, rowing in there. We caught our steer. And yeah, it was most exciting day of my life. Yeah.
I can't wait to get to that point. Just full transparency, listeners, I am working with Laurie to get to that point myself, because I've also had that experience of actually being super excited the night before a shoot. But then when I wake up and get ready to go to the shoot, that sense of, I wish that there was some bad weather today that might prevent this so I wouldn't have to do it. But then at the shoot, after my stages, being really excited that I've done it, feeling that sense of accomplishment that makes me want to keep doing it. And that evening at home, that real sense of pride and accomplishment that I've done it. And so I can really relate to that roller coaster that the basket case in my brain creates around shooting. And I can't wait to get to that place of peace that you just described.
Yes. And so that's what led me then. That win gave me that financial cushion to where I'd been praying for a couple of years. I had a well-paying job, which let me do all that team roping and let me get my horse. And but it was very demanding and stressful, and I was burnt out. And so I'd just been praying, and the only two criteria I had were I just want to be passionate about my work and I want to help people. So after, it wasn't right away after the finale, but shortly after, I was just searching for something, and I I found like online learning, and I thought, well, I can teach the mental game. I studied it for 7 years, and I used to be a teacher, so it's just natural for me to want to teach other people. And so that's how I decided to jump off. I had that little financial cushion, so it gave me that confidence to go, okay, I'm just going to do it. So I started my own business, got certified as a mental performance coach, and here I am.
Talk about God's plan at work there.
Oh, yeah. Now I look at it and it's so clear, and there were other things earlier in my life, like my horse. We love our horses, right? So let me just brag on my horse
Yes,
for a
please
little bit.
do. Please do.
So Tyke is his name. He's a 17-year-old. And when I got him, well, first of all, before I could even afford him. So I was a teacher, a middle school teacher. We live up here in this resort community, which is very expensive, right? And I was teaching, and this position came up as a coordinator, which would be, a raise, which for a teacher, there aren't many of those. So I jumped at it, and I really was a shoe-in for it. And I didn't get it. And it was just like baffling, baffling. I just couldn't figure it out. So then that shortly after that, the title company that I had worked for before I was a teacher called me, and they said, hey, any chance you're considering a move back to title? And I was like, well, let's talk. So because of that, I was able to buy my horse Tyke. And then I actually bought him to barrel race on. That was my main focus at the time. And then I might have had him for a couple years. He had a bone chip. I had to have surgery. He was only 9, major arthritis. The vet was like, oh, you'll be lucky to get 2 more years out of him. So I was devastated, right? But that then led me to pursue team roping instead of barrel racing, thinking it would he'd have a longer career, right? With less on his joints. So
Yep.
that's when we got into the team roping, and once I started roping on him, I'm like, oh, he's bad. He likes this, he's good. And so, yeah, so then we did all of this has been on him. And what's that, 11 years now I've had him. And he's just, yeah, my heart horse.
We love a bit of bragging on horses on Balloon
Oh,
Killers.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I heard about you through you donated a session, I think it was a month's mental performance coaching to our Pistols for Pink shoot. Thank you so much for donating that. That cause means a lot to me. But I found out through that you were connected with the mounted shooting community. How did you get connected with the mounted shooting community?
Well, so I had a couple of clients who were team ropers, but they were also shooters.
Hmm.
And one of the first things I have my clients do is create a highlight reel, which is a really powerful tool. And so one of the clients made a team roping highlight reel and a shooting highlight reel. So I was like, oh, can I see both? I'd love to see them if you don't mind sharing. And I had no clue. I had no clue what the mounted shooting was like. And I saw that, and she was a level 5, so like, they're fast. And I was just blown away of like, and it was a timed event. I had no idea it was a timed event. And so that just, well, got my respect for one. I was just like, wow, this is great. And then through word of mouth, I got a couple more shooter clients, and one of them sent me a flyer and was like, hey, there's a clinic not too far from you. I was like 3 hours away. So I was like, oh, what a hoot. I have to go try, right? So I took my horse Tyke and we went down there. Dale and Katrina Klotz put it on,
Mm-hmm.
and they were fabulous, and they knew exactly, how to break the horses to the gunfire. And he took to it right away, and he was way ahead of me. Like I don't have much experience, didn't have, handling a gun. So like I was
Mm-hmm.
scared, and then they like want to strap him on my body. And I'm like, what? This doesn't seem safe, right? But fortunately, they were so good. And by the second day, I felt a lot more comfortable. And then Dale and Katrina said, well, there's a shoot coming up in a month. If you want to come back, we could do a little refresher the day before, and then you could come to the shoot with us and, do a time only or enter or whatever. So I did that, and they, of course, Katrina outfitted me with her chinks and her guns. I entered my first shoot, and I felt very successful because by the third stage, I shot it clean. So, of course, it was quite slow. But for my first one, I was like, yeah. So I can see, like, I see the addiction factor. It would be very easy to get uh, deep into that. If it was a little closer, that's kind
Yeah.
of my problem is there's just, there's 2 mountain passes and 3 hours of driving in between me and shooting right now. So even practicing. So I don't, we'll have to see what happens there. But I'm so glad I did it. And it was a Colorado regulator shoot, and everybody there was just so nice. And I know you hear this all the time, but it is, it's a great community.
I remember your first shoot. I remember checking you in at the
Oh,
office.
really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Now that I think about it, that's right. That was,
Yeah, I was the secretary for that
that's
shoot
why
and I
you look
checked you in.
familiar.
Yep, that was me.
Oh, funny. Yeah, that was the one.
So you probably already talked about this a little bit as you talked about how you got into your mental performance coaching, but how does working on your mental game improve your performance?
As I spoke to my transformation of going from, being so basket case to being, calm, collected, ready, aggressive, all of those things, that all came from the study of the mental game. That's, because it's not like I was new to competition. I had rodeoed, high school, college rodeoed, and then a little bit in between there. So it's not like I was new to competition, and that's what was scary. It was, yeah, it was just a lack of confidence and some anxiety because of that. So studying the mental game is what got me to that point where I could, ride into the box in that manner. My goal really is to get right to the strategies because I spent so many years, and it obviously was good, but reading sports psychology books, and there's so much in there. But when it comes down to it, it's like if you can just teach these strategies that are very concrete and just say, here's what you do and here's how you do it, that can get somebody so much faster into that, increased confidence, better focus, and a better mindset. So those are the main areas where you'll see the change.
And on the topic of strategies, do you have a couple of strategies that you would recommend for improving your mental game in preparation for competing?
Yes, and actually, most of the strategies are done in preparation for. If you prepare right, it makes the competition go quite differently than it could. So, I already mentioned the highlight reel. That's a favorite because it's, I mean, the confidence building for one. You watch it. Well, and I'll tell you first. People always say, "Well, I don't need a highlight." I go back and watch my good videos before a competition, but it's not the same. With a highlight reel, you're taking clips. You shorten them up, they're real succinct, the moments that make you feel really good about yourself, where you were like, "Oh yeah, I did that," right? And you put the clips together with music, some type of motivating music. Some people like to put in like a quote or a Bible verse or a picture, maybe of them in a win or anything that makes you feel good and elevates your confidence. And so that it's like a little tool. You just pull it out. Most people have it on their phone, so you can watch it. Of course, before as you prepare, you could watch it in between stages if you need a little boost. But it really, it's like a constant reminder, confidence reminder. So that would be number one. And then the other is performance journaling. And we'll get you to order your performance journal. um, they are for sale on my website because I created my own just because the ones that I used throughout my career didn't quite fit, what we do in our training program. So, but with journaling, it's so good for one, purposeful practice. Two, for self-talk. We make sure that there's a whole section to focus on what went well, because even, I'll have client, we'll meet after a shoot and they'll, oh, it was bad. I'm like, well, tell me about that. And we find out like there were a lot of really good things in there. But of course, our brains just naturally focus on the one thing that went wrong, right? And it just colors everything. So we make sure we focus on the positive in the journal. It's great for analysis, post-performance analysis, because for one, you always know you're going to have a time to analyze. So like if you're at a shoot and something happens, the only thing you should be thinking of is the next stage, right? So we can park our analysis of that previous one because we know we're going to review it later and take out anything that we can learn from it. So yeah, there's just quite a few benefits, but journaling would be the second one right up there.
So can anyone buy your performance analysis journal, or do they need to be a client of yours to order it?
No, it is on my website, mentalgame101.com. So anybody can.
As you were talking about reflecting on the bad things that happened, I couldn't help but think about my dumpster fire of a main match at Worlds. So I think I probably need to be thinking about what went well there, not how bad it was, because I think I've described it as a dumpster fire about 100 times now.
Right, because we want to think about the things that we want to repeat. So those are the things we should, if you're thinking about what went wrong, you don't want to repeat that, right? So don't think about it anymore. So we try to train our brains, right, to look for the good and focus on the good.
So I know that working on your mental game is all about focusing on the positive. You just said that. and what we should be doing. But are there any myths around mental game and preparation for competing that we should avoid?
Yeah, absolutely. The first one that comes to mind is you hear people say, "Oh, I don't need to work on my mental game. I'm tough," right? Or people think it's only for an athlete that's struggling. Well, so just recently I launched a course that is for team ropers going to the finale. So it's an online course they can do to get ready as they prepare for the finale. And I found this clip for the session number one, and it was Tom Brady. And here he is. It was him after he'd already won 5 Super Bowls, and he was giving somebody a tour of his office or something. And he opens his playbook, and right in the front, he had his affirmations written out. You love the big moments. You're bleepity bleep Tom Brady, 5-time Super Bowl champion. Like, so he had written out his purposeful self-talk, which we talk a lot, right? His affirmations. So there's just kind of case in point. The best of the best, they're up there for a reason because they look for any edge, right? They're not going to just put their mental game to chance and hope it's there, right? They're going to make sure it's there. That would be number one. And then, on the topic, we were talking about videos. Do not hold on to your videos of the ones that didn't go so well, that make you feel bad. Like I said, we analyze. And so you might save the video until you go through your journal just to analyze, what can I take from this? What do I want to do differently? And then delete those suckers. Like you don't ever want to see them again. So I see that people doing that, holding on to those. And again, it's like, no, just get rid of that. And then the other one probably is the fixed mindset. So people think, well, this is just who I am. This is how I've always been. I wasn't born with that great mindset like Tom Brady or, Trevor Brazil in the roping world. And so they think they're just fixed that way. But the research, beyond a shadow of a doubt, we know that our brains are malleable and can be changed. So nobody is stuck where they're at.
Agreed. And I'm looking forward to growth, my own self. Now, we've talked about the fact that you run your mental coaching performance business. What are some of the different options that you offer?
So there's one-on-one coaching, of course, where we meet weekly, all virtual, so via Zoom. And that I always like to, on my website, you can click, all of this is on there, but you can click for a free consultation call, which I actually require before I take anyone on as a one-on-one client, just to make sure it's a fit for both of us. I can kind of explain what's involved and all of that before they make their decision. And then I mentioned I have this online course for the team roping finale, and that's also through my website. And honestly, it's created for the finale ropers, but it could work for anyone who's, working towards a big event. And then I've also got on there a freebie. If there'll be a little pop-up on the website, and you can download my guide to create your own highlight reel. And then through that, I get your email address, and then I will send you, I do a weekly email with mental game tips and tricks and insights and sometimes giveaways, that kind of thing.
So if anyone's interested in that, I'm going to put the link to Laurie's website in the show notes. Thank you so much, Laurie. I feel like I've learned a ton just from this conversation. So really looking forward to working with you more. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it as well.
As I mentioned in the episode, I've just started working with Laurie myself, and I have to report that yesterday I went into my stages a lot calmer and a lot more positive, and I was also a lot clearer headed. I remember a lot more of my runs yesterday than I normally do. So I really do think it's working, and I'm excited to see where this goes. If there are balloon killers you would like to hear interviewed, please email me on balloonkillers@gmail.com. That's balloonkillers, all one word, @gmail.com.